Good morning. I'm Cassidy Ballou.
And I'm Kyla Winter, and we are here to introduce someone very special to us.
He hasn't always had an easy life from the start. He was born after me.
And before me, which sandwiched him right in the middle of the two meanest girls in Nephi.
It didn't help that everything about him was, in his words, brown. He had brown hair, brown eyes, and his mom even bought him brown boots.
But there is one thing that brought him so many great experiences, and that is his blue jacket. This organization has given Karlin so many great opportunities.
Here he is, our brother and your state sentinel, Karlin Winter.
Mama said, fulfill the prophecy, be something great. Go make a legacy, manifest destiny. Back in the days we wanted everything, wanted everything. Mama said, burn your biographies, rewrite your history, light up your wildest dreams, museum victories. Every day we wanted everything, wanted everything. Mama said, don't give up, it's a little complicated, all tied up, no more love, and I'd hate to see you waiting. Had to have high hopes for a living, shooting for the stars when I couldn't make a killing. Didn't have a time, but I always had a vision, always had high hopes. Had to have high hopes for a living, didn't know how, but I always had a feeling I was gonna be that one in a million. Always had high hopes. Mama said.
Run, Forrest, run! This is one of the most easily recognizable movie lines. So, what line does this come from? Or what movie does this line come from? There we go. Forrest Gump, a movie that depicts a tale of a man who may not be the brightest person in the world, but embarks on some pretty remarkable adventures. The movie begins with Forrest Gump telling the story of his life. We are told that he had to walk with braces strapped to his legs. He was told he wouldn't be able to walk without them. One day, as he was running away from his bullies after school, the braces began to break apart. With each step, Forrest ran faster and faster. Before long, the braces had broke and Forrest outran his bullies. Each one of us can relate to Forrest in one way or another. There are times that we have to lose what is holding us back, even if it's something that is intended to help us. We all have some sort of limitation that we have to overcome. We all have something that we want to achieve. However, achieving great things doesn't come without great challenges. Those challenges can sometimes seem impossible. Before 1954, running a mile in under 4 minutes was said to be impossible. Not only was it impossible, but it was sure to lead someone to their death due to an exploded lung. Among athletes and physicians, this was true. One studying physician said otherwise. Roger Bannister set out to prove that running a mile in under 4 minutes was in fact possible. He spent many years training, and in 1953, he gave his first attempt. He ran a mile in 4 minutes, 3.6 seconds. He was so close to breaking that mile. On May 6, 1954, Bannister was set to race in Oxford, England. He spent the morning of the race ensuring that everything was perfect. He did tasks that seemed so simple and maybe even pointless, but would make the race easier for him, like sharpening his track cleats. As the race started, Bannister set a pace for himself that he thought needed to be faster, until the timer called the time of the first lap. 57.5 seconds. A quarter of the race down and running at a good pace. His time of the second lap, 1 minute, 58 seconds. Still possible. The crowd started to cheer, knowing that the 4-minute mile could happen. His time of the third lap, 3 minutes, 0.7 seconds. His final lap had to be less than 59 seconds. The crowd of nearly 3,000 people got louder and louder as the race drew to an end. As Bannister crossed the finish line, he could no longer stand. Needing assistance, race officials held him up as everyone waited for the time. The announcer stalled for as long as he could. He soon began with the words, 3 minutes. The crowd went crazy. The impossible proved to be possible. The official time of the race was 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. Bannister became the first man to ever run a mile in under 4 minutes. He was told by experts and physicians that what he was trying to do was impossible. He didn't listen to what others said he couldn't do. Too often we listen to what others say we can't do. Bannister's record only lasted 46 days. If these people would have listened to what others said was impossible, it might have taken decades for someone to beat that mile. How often do we listen to what others tell us is impossible? How often do we tell ourselves it's useless? McKady Hawes from the Grantsville FFA chapter has lived without limits. Now, if you know McKady, you probably have heard of 28 Miles West Clothing, a business that positively promotes agriculture. This business was started by McKady and has been a huge success. However, it didn't start out as a success. McKady had to put in hours of hard work, research, and dedication to make her dream a reality. This was no simple task. McKady, like the rest of us, began creating her own limitations. Thinking the business was going to take a lot of time out of her already busy schedule, she hesitated. Also, trying to find a reasonable price manufacturer that met all of the standards she had for the shirts proved to be difficult. The biggest limitation that McKady created was thinking and believing that she would fail. This barrier has stopped so many of us from reaching our potential. Not because we actually fail, but because we are afraid to fail, so we don't even try. McKady found a way to leap over that hurdle. She stopped telling herself that she would fail. She started living without limitations. Because of this, her business did better than she ever expected. Now, think back to something that you wanted more than anything else. Maybe it was making a sports team, taking state, earning a proficiency award, or making a CDE team. Maybe it was making chapter or state office. Something huge or something small. Whatever it may be, think about how badly you wanted that one thing. What did you do to achieve it? Did you work harder than you had ever worked for anything before? Did you succeed or not? What did it feel like? Were you on cloud 9? Or did you feel like a failure? I've been there. I've put so much on the line and have it work out for me. I have also given it my all and have it not work out. What matters in the end isn't if you reach your goal. It is what you do to achieve it that matters. I wanted to be a state officer more than anything else in the world. I worked harder than I had ever worked for anything before. I remember sitting in the hot box with 27 other candidates after all the rounds of interviews, throwing my heart on the line. As the two chairs of the nominating committee started calling the 6 individuals that would represent this association, I remember thinking, okay, State Sentinel, this could be me. We all huddled together, and I heard, from the chapter of Spanish Fork. That's not me. Maybe reporter. From the chapter of Harriman. That's not me. The hope of making the team died with every office that was called. Treasurer, not me. Secretary, not me. I looked down after every office was called, hoping I would be called as the next officer. Vice president, not me. Only one more office. President, not me. As I looked up after all the offices had been called, I thought I failed. Hours of studying, countless practice interviews, numerous writing prompts, all down the drain. I labeled myself a failure. Unknowingly, I began creating limitations for myself. Fast forward a couple of months, at my chapter's closing banquet, I took my FFA jacket off for what I thought was going to be the last time. It was there I realized I wasn't a failure. I saw all the accomplishments I had during my time in FFA. I learned your success in life isn't defined by just one experience. As the year went on, I found myself still wanting to be a state officer more than anything. I created a limitation of fear and belief that I wasn't good enough. After many discussions with advisors, parents, friends, I finally decided to run for state office again. I prepared even more, and this time, my efforts paid off. I was selected to serve Utah FFA as a state officer. Now, I want you to think of that one thing that you wanted again. Think about what limits you had. Did you create those limits, or did someone else? As I traveled across the state, I met so many members who inspired me with their goals, dreams, and accomplishments. However, when I asked about what held them back from reaching those goals or dreams, I was told members couldn't achieve something because they had unknowingly set limitations for themselves. Limitations like fear, not enough time, depression, self-doubt, self-confidence, and unexpected events. I heard phrases like, I can't do that because I'm too shy. Someone else is doing that contest and I can't compete with them. Sometimes students started to believe what others said to them. You can't do that because you don't have enough experience. You're not good enough. How do we live without these limitations? I like to think of hot air balloons. Once they're in the air, they stay about the same height. But when the sandbags are removed, the hot air balloon will rise at a rapid pace. The same thing happens to each and every single one of you when you remove your limitations. You rise to greater heights, to greater accomplishments. Sometimes it's hard to remove the things that hold us back. Many times when I found myself surrounded by limitations, I took out 2 pieces of paper. On the first, I wrote 10 things I am good at. And on the second, I wrote anything and everything that was holding me back. I would then burn the second piece of paper and put the first where I could see it every day. This became my reminder of how I was capable of achieving what I wanted. I challenge each and every single person in this room, when you are reaching for that one thing, to take out those 2 pieces of paper. Let your limitations burn. Live a life not constricted by any boundaries. Reach past your fears, insecurities, negative mindsets. Don't let other people limit your life, your goals, or even your dreams. Each of you are capable of achieving great moments if you are willing to live without limitations. Utah FFA, rise above your limitations.
Don't give up, it's a little complicated. All tied up, no more love, and I'd hate to see you waiting.
Karlin, even though you are the scariest driver of us all, you still managed to get us where we need to be with our tallywhackers tucked and looking our best. We may not understand why you need a $160 pair of jeans, but we do understand why you were selected to be on this team. Thank you for your friendship. We admire your example of how limitations shouldn't get in our way. The rise doesn't stop here. Love, Sam, Casey, Tristan, Chloe, and Jocelyn. Utah FFA, for the final time, your 2018-2019 State Sentinel Karlin Winter.